Have you seen any desire or actual action from the government to really address this? Because it seems to only be spiralling out of control.
I think the desire's there, and I'm pretty sure that Priti Patel would have given anything to have solve the problem. Clearly, it ain't easy. I don't think that anything that's happened so far, Rwanda included, because we haven't actually got going with that yet, I don't think anything is going to dissuade either the traffickers or indeed from people from jumping into boats and coming over. So far, really, I don't think anything has happened that is likely to have an impact on the numbers coming across. And at the present rate, as we've been saying for some time, it's going to be around 55,000 by the end of the year. That's a huge number. It's a small town, for goodness sake. A couple of years ago, it was a fraction of that. So there's pressure on Suella Braverman, who I think actually is capable of getting a grip.
What do you think the difference is between her and Priti Patel, though? Because obviously you said that Priti Patel had that desire. She came out with all of these plans. But what do you think is the difference that would mean that Suella Braverman could actually achieve something in this?
Far be it for me to be critical of Priti Patel, who I like very much, and I think her heart was in the right place. To be fair to her, I don't think that she got the sort of support from the top, from the Prime Minister. Boris Johnson, always a Liberal on immigration. If he could avoid dealing with it, then he would. The policies that have been introduced, I think, if they actually get off the ground and start to be implemented, they could have an effect. I always said that Rwanda was never the solution. It was foolish to suggest that here we have this deal with Rwanda and it's the solution to all our problems. It isn't. It has to be part of a wider package, and the French, I'm afraid, also have to play their part. You mentioned, Mercy, that there was no discussion about the Channel when the Prime Minister and President Macron met yesterday. I think that was a missed opportunity and very disappointing, actually, because if they don't collectively show the will to deal with this problem, it's just going to get worse. It's in our interests and French interests to solve it. And I think that the French have got to think again about how they're going to help us do that.
I'm just going to throw some figures at you that quoted in the Telegraph yesterday. I want you to firstly confirm if they're true, because they're quite extraordinary, and then perhaps try to explain them. So it says that this total for September has gone past 5,300, which I find extraordinary, and Albanians now account for up to 60% of the crossings. Is that true?
Certainly that's what's happening at the moment, and the bulk of those who have been crossing over a period have been Albanians. That place where there's war, there's persecution. That's why they want to join the European Union, of course. I mean, it's
why is that?
Ridiculous.
Why Albania?
Why Albania?
Yeah. Why are there so many? Why the proportion is so high?
It's exactly the same if you ask that question of the number of sub-Saharan Africans, for example, coming over, those coming from Libya across the Mediterranean. They're all fleeing poverty. This is economic migration. And I'm afraid that until we accept that it isn't asylum, this is not a matter of them fleeing persecution or whatever, in accordance with the 1951 Refugee Convention and the ECHR, the European Convention on Human Rights. That has nothing to do with it. And that's really what we've got to acknowledge now, that these people are coming here for a better life.
But but what proportion, according to your figures, would you consider genuine asylum seekers then? I know it's hard to say, but I mean, are we talking a very small number or a considerable chunk?
Put it this way, when the original agreements were reached and treaties were put in place, it was people coming from places where, for their religious beliefs, for their political beliefs, they were being tortured, they were being persecuted in some way. Now, I would argue that the majority of those people who are coming over are maybe fleeing poverty and hardship, but they're not, in the strictest sense of the word, people who qualify for asylum in the way that it was originally intended. What proportion? I'm afraid you've really got to ask that of the Home Office. They know. Very often the benefit of the doubt is given. And I'm afraid that the sooner we start actually not giving the benefit of the doubt, the better.